Hey Hero fans, so I'm in the bathroom again and I'm going to, where did I stick the helmet now? There it is. Put it in the room. I'm going to go ahead and resin coat this helmet and show you guys how I do it. Now since this is recorded in a mirror reflection, I decided to bounce it off the mirror so you can see what I'm doing. So watch in the mirror and I'll try to keep my stuff in the mirror so you can see what's going on. That way it's not reversed. And let's see if I can hear this. Testing, testing, sound check. Okay, the audio is not that great. I apologize. I'm not using my microphone, and I got a fan on for the fumes. I won't be able to see your guys' chat messages either, so I apologize for that. So let me go ahead and just start doing this. So the first thing we have to do is don our gloves. We don't want to get resin all over our hands. And now off camera, I've already shook up my bottle of resin, but here it is right here. Now you'll notice because it's photosensitive, I covered it in foil, taped it all around, put some black tape along the top to make sure it was totally sealed. It's actually in a glass jar. So I'm gonna go ahead and open this. And there it is. You can see the resin in there. And I like to use the gray resin. My first one I used the black resin, and it didn't come out very good. So I decided to go with the gray. It just seems to match better because it's already gray, so that makes the most sense. Now I do like to use two different kinds of paint brushes. I like to use the big paintbrush just to put it on in big strokes. And then I like to use the small paintbrush to get rid of all the air bubbles and stuff. So let's go ahead and start painting this and see how it looks. Now I do have my secondary light here, so I can use some more UV on it in case it doesn't harden right away. So basically I'm just going to take and coat this thing with resin. And the reason I'm doing this is when you 3D print, you get little lines all over the print of and you know, this just hides all those lines. Now I first hit it with 100 grit sandpaper first to get rid of the high spots. So let's just go ahead and coat this. Now, right now I'm just doing the outside, then I'll do the inside in a few minutes. Sorry for the crazy echo too, because I know it just sounds horrible in here in the bathroom. Let's see if anybody's joined us yet. Oh, we got a couple people on there. Thanks for joining us. I figure this video will probably be for prosperity's sake later on for people that decide to look at it to see how I get my stuff so smooth. This is the trick right here. Is putting this resin on, and it's the same resin you use for 3D printing. I use the water rinse resin, so it's a water-based type resin, and it dries with a UV light. So I just coat this whole thing, make it nice and smooth. Now you're going to end up, like I said, with bubbles. Bubbles, they give you troubles. So in all these little spots on the edges, you just want to take a different brush and just make it really nice and clean before you hit it with the light. Because once you hit it with the light, you've kind of committed to whatever you've left on there. So it's just final last smoothing before you hit it with the light. Make sure you got it nice and good. Now, a lot of times I'll do 2 or 3 coats of this resin just to make sure I got it. Now the nose is a trouble spot because that's where it stops printing. The final print is on the nose. So I make sure that I have a nice thick coat of resin on the nose so I can sand it around like it's supposed to. And that's looking pretty good. I like to get right here on the edges too, so I know I have to do a bunch on there. And now when you do this, if you get too much resin on your gloves will heat up as you're hit it with a light source and may burn your fingers. So be careful not to get too much resin on your actual gloves, or you will not be happy when the light hits it. All right, so that's looking pretty good. Make sure to get the horn on top, so that has some extra line ridges in it too. And the eyes like to catch a lot of resin in there, so I try to clean those out. Otherwise it'll be more difficult to paint later if I don't have some easy lines to follow. All right, that's looking pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn my light on and stick it down the light. And once it starts to harden a little bit, I'll just go ahead and set it right on this spindle and just let it go. I don't know if you can see that in the mirror or not. Ah, I got resin all over my hands. Let me go and pull off my gloves so I can move my camera closer so you guys can watch. And then I'll go check for comments. See what you guys have said. So, there you go. You can see the head turning on there. Hardening the resin on there. Let me go check my comments now. Wait, that's spinning for a minute. Wow, a lot of comments. If I painted this, my girlfriend's washroom, I'd be forced to live in my castle gray skull. This really improves Battle Cat. Thanks. Thanks for showing us how to do this. No problem. Let's see, that's really cool. Thanks. And oh, Van, what's up? I'm just showing you guys how to do this. Pop actor, excellent. I'm glad you got your scare glow. Nice. All right, so let me go ahead and re-don my gloves, and then we'll continue on with the resin coating of the hat or the helmet. Now you have to be careful not to get your light over here, because if your light ends up getting on your resin, then you'll get big old clumps and you'll ruin your resin. So you have to be careful that you do not get it on your jar, on your lid, or on your paintbrush. Otherwise you will be sorry later. Oh, they're so slippery because they're coated in resin. No. All right. So let me go ahead and dry some resin on my gloves here. Now again, if I have it too thick, like right there, oh, I can feel it start to burn on the inside of my glove. It's kind of funny. It's like hot, 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 hot. I know I could wash it off, but this is just easier. Now, if you don't do that with the gloves, I found if you have resin on your gloves and you touch the part and the light's on it, sometimes your glove will meld to the part. So you want to do that like I just did. Now let's go ahead and get the bottom here too. Make sure that the resin's hardened everywhere, all the way around. The spot that gets missed is this right here as it's spinning around, so I want to get that as well. So now I'm just hitting all the spots that it may have missed on its own. All right. That's looking pretty good. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn this off and do the inside. Now the inside, I'm just going to slop it on in there because I want a nice thick coat and it doesn't have to have a lot of detail inside there. So I'm not going to worry about the detail too much. There we go. And now that I got that slopped in there, I'm now going to take my nice brush and just kind of feather some of it up and go around the edge again, because the edge is really rough because that's where the supports are. And I'm also going to clean out where the nose goes, because I want to make sure that nose is going to sit nice in there. And I'm going to go around the edges right here around the mouth, so I make sure that this is a solid piece all the way around, because we don't want to have the resin crack off around the edges. We want to make sure that it's completely coated in resin everywhere. Well, maybe I slopped just a little too much on there. A little too rambunctious there with the paintbrush. Yep. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Make sure the nose is cleaned out. Again, get these spots right up here where they connect. And let's hit it with the UV light again. And I can definitely feel my thumb warming up on this. So you can see how I'm hitting with the UV light on the inside. Getting it all coated in there. This is coming along pretty nice. Now I don't spend as long hitting the inside at the UV light because I know it's going to be hit a lot more. So when I be doing the outside a lot more, and so I'm just going to go, that should be good enough for the inside for now, because I'm not going to put any more coats on the inside, just gets the one coat. But I am going to add another coat to the outside, much thinner than I did on the inside, just to make sure I got it super smooth on here. And then while this is spinning around, I'll check your guys' comments again. Go and get my hands on the inside of this so I don't leave fingerprints on it. Of course, I'm wearing gloves, so I won't have fingerprints, but glove prints. Now it's harder to hold this time because now the inside's a little more slippery than it was last time, because it's nice and smooth now on the inside and less ridges. So it's just a little harder to hold. And because I used a higher definition when I printed this, I'm only going to need 2 coats. The first one I did like 3 or 4 coats on it because I used a different print resolution. Then I used the wrong paint on it. It just looked awful. So it's my garbage one that I'm not going to actually sell or get rid of. It looked horrible. But these newer ones are coming out so much nicer. The main thing is do not let your grooves fill in, otherwise you will lose your cool detailing that came out of the printing. So I always go over like across the nose here and the eyes and along the cheeks here, just to make sure I do not lose those details. Whoa, almost dropped it. All right, so let's go ahead and hit this with the light and then set it down. That's looking pretty good. Ooh, it's hot on my thumb. I can tell I spilled some resin on there. All right, let's let this spin around for a while. Ooh. There we go. And let me go check your guys' questions. All right, let's see what you guys have. I thought Hebrew was black. Actually, it's the glove. It's the glove. Sorry, man. Hey, Dean. That's okay if you can't stay for the live stream. You guys are hilarious. All right. Hey, Cameron. Thanks for joining us. Yep, about a week until the Netflix launch. It's going to be really cool. Pop after making your own $1, that'll be cool. $1. All right. So this next step's kind of strange, and I'll show you why in a minute. Because we spent all that time putting that resin on there. We are now going to take some of that resin off. So let me show you the next step. Ugh. Okay, first of all, let's get this stuff cleaned up. So I like to get this as clean as I can before I continue on to the next step. I have a plastic baggie to keep my paintbrushes in so they don't get dried out or anything. And then I take off as much resin as I can on this giant brush. See, if I was smart, I'd do a whole bunch at once instead of one at a time. But I just put the lid on to try to scrunch out as much resin as I can from the brushes. Oh, there's my timer. Hey Siri, stop timer. You can see again how I have it foil coated, because again light will ruin this resin and harden it right away. I'm just going to go ahead and aim this right on the sink so you guys can see this next step. And let me check your comments. All right. Yep, this is very similar to the nail salon stuff, but it's actually for 3D printers. It's the resin you use for 3D printers. And after we get this all nice and hard and solid, we are now going to sand it with 400 grit sandpaper. But before I do, I'm going to first use a toothbrush on it, a motorized one, this one right here, and get the final bit of resin that's left over, the residue, off first, and then do a light sand on it. Get the last little spots, make sure it's all hardened. Spots that may have been missed while it was spinning around. It's funny, when the light hits it, you can see exactly where the resin is. But once the light comes off, you can't tell as it looks the same color gray. But when it's on, it kind of gives it that blue kind of glow. It's kind of cool. You can also watch the resin slowly change under the light. The blue glow glows brighter as it dries. It's kind of a dull, darker glow before it dries. And so you can almost see the resin hardening on the surface as you're using the light. All right, let me go and turn off this light. And can you see my sink? Great. I got a motorized toothbrush here. Don't mix it up with your other toothbrush, and just take off any extra resin that didn't harden all the way. Otherwise you'll have a sticky residue on there if you don't do this step first. Get in all the grooves. We're gonna clean you right up, Battle Cat. Want to make sure you don't miss any spots as you go around and do this. Yeah, I learned the hard way. If you don't get this really thorough, you'll end up with little sticky spots that just makes your sanding job so much harder. All right, I'm going to pull my gloves off now because there should not be any more resin residue left over, and that's looking nice and smooth now. Whoop. Sorry about that, my battery's dying. You know, that's looking really nice and smooth now. I mean, look at that. It looks action piece. That is beautiful. So now I'm going to grab my 400 grit sandpaper, and it's wet dry sandpaper. I'm going to get it really wet, and I'm going to hit this whole entire surface with the sandpaper to finally get the final smooth on it. Anywhere I might have had brush strokes or finger marks or something else, we're going to get rid of all those little slight defects that I may have. And you'll find also this gets rid of the last little bit of residue you may have had left over on it. Now don't go too crazy, otherwise you'll end up taking off the resin you just put on there, which would be bad too. So you have to be a little careful not to get too crazy with the sandpaper. This will also make it so the paint will adhere to it better later. So I'm getting what's known as a nice water break-free surface on this area by using water and sandpaper, so the paint will adhere much better when it comes time. And make sure that nose is nice and rounded. Oh yeah, that is beautiful. Spot. You can just feel where you did and didn't sand it. It has a total different feel to it. So you can go back and hit those spots. I'm going to go grab a helmet that has not been treated so you guys can see the difference. And I'll be right back. So hold on a second. So here's the difference. Here's one that's not been treated, and here's one that's been treated. And you can see the ridges and lines in this one and how smooth this is. It's just crazy how good that comes out once you put that resin coating on there. It just makes all the difference doing that. So my next steps is I'm going to paint it with the paint that I had color matched. And this time I'm not going to paint the inside. I'm going to leave that alone so it won't cause any paint rub when I stick it on the cat. Let me go grab the cat really quick. All right, there's the helmet on the cat. And it's cool is now it's fitting a little bit tighter because of that extra resin on the inside. And so it's fitting really nice on there. It's still gonna fall a little bit, but not much. And so my very last step I do is after I paint it and with my fit check, is I will literally heat it up and squeeze it just a little bit to fit perfect on this head. And that's the very last step I do. So there you go. That is how I do it. That is how we do it. And again, take a look at the difference. I don't know if you guys can see that in the camera or not, between the smooth one and the one with the ridges on there. And then the smooth one. Ooh, ah. Anyway, let me check your last final comments before I go. See what you guys have to say. I should get a job, Mattel. I would love that. That'd be awesome. Hey, Hebrew, do you think we'll get a Castle Grayskull and Snake Mountain with the new Masterverse line? I don't think so, but hopefully it will. It'd be cool if we do. All right. Well, you guys, thanks for joining me on this adventure of me getting this ready. Like I said, my next step now is to paint just the outside of it, and it's going to be really cool. And on this one here, I'm not going to paint the details on it because somebody already is going to purchase this one, and they're just going to do the base coat on it, and that's it. And they're going to do their own details. They'll paint the eyes themselves and the pieces and the horns, whatever they want. And so if you want, contact me on Facebook. I have 3 price points. This is my raw, where I don't do anything to it at all, and this is how you get it. And then I have this one here with the base paint on it already. And then the last one is the ones on eBay that are fully painted. So those are my 3 price points on these. If you guys are curious, find me on Facebook. You can ask me, and I'll quote you the prices. So this is the raw, unsanded. This one with the red primer on it will be the one that is the base coat one, and the one that I mostly sell. And then of course the final full painted one, which will be for auction only. All right, well, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, and I will see you guys next video. Bye now. The next video I'll probably show the same helmet but painted. So how cool will that be? All right, you guys, thanks again. Bye now.